Good evening, everybody. Good evening, my friends. Welcome to Live at 5. It's so good to be with you, Lemonheads, Lemonation. We're about to introduce Tim Miller to the Lemonation, our live show. We have a big show for you guys today. My good friend Tim Miller, the host of the ever popular Bulwark podcast. He is my co-pilot yet again on this program. Tim, we have a lot to dig into. Thank you so much. I know that you're excited about the Unified Reich. REICH, that is coming in November. But I want to start with the breaking news. Do you want to deliver the breaking news? Or you want me to deliver it?
Sure. Though I don't know. I feel like there's like a lemonade, like a Beyonce lemonade play that we could be working on, but we'll keep doing it. And I see we're matching again. We don't plan this. I'll deliver the breaking news.
Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley has disappointed us, or not really. For those of us who know Nikki Haley has done exactly what we all thought she was going to do. On a panel at the Hudson Institute, she said she plans to vote for Donald Trump over Joe Biden this November. We don't have like a full context of the extent of that. Is this like a reluctant vote? Is this she's going to go campaign with him? Is she going to speak at the convention? There's still remaining questions, but at minimum, we know she's going to be for Trump.
The question, though, Tim, is considering all of that, him calling her Nikki Nimrata, and what else did he call? He called her some other. Did he call her dumb? I forget what he called her. Yeah. Something head. I forget what the nickname was for her.
It's hard to keep track of all his nicknames.
Why?
Yeah, she insulted his husband. He strongly implied, basically said that her husband who was serving overseas was doing so to get away from her. He's sick. He's a sick person. And you know, all of these politicians that have remained in the Republican Party, my former party, have decided that they're willing to take the abuse in exchange for power, proximity to power, or relevance. Or money or access or some combination of all those things. And I think that Nikki's prime flaw in this case is that I think that she still believes that there's a future for her in this party. I think she incorrectly believes that Donald Trump at some point will go away and that she was in second place and that it'll be her turn next. And it's not going to, and that it couldn't be her turn if she voted for Joe Biden. But it's not going to be her turn. The party is overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. The rump group that was voting for her, the 20 or so percent, most of those people aren't for Trump anyway. It's two different parties. It's Trump has a huge majority, and then there's a minority of old school, compassionate, conservative Republicans, or whatever you want to call them, that were for her. But like, she's not getting any of the Trump people. She's never getting any of them. I was there in Arizona at a Turning Point USA rally. Steve Bannon is on stage, huge crowd, massive crowd here, disturbingly large crowd, really. And he's talking about how the Republican establishment in DC is going to try to make her VP. And the people around me, man, it was like the cursing. They were shouting racist shit. They were shouting sexist shit. They were saying lock her up.
What were they saying? Racist stuff like what?
The crowd was rabid. The C word was the lock her up chant happened. There was people saying, no, not that C word. No, fuck her. Like all this stuff, man. I wrote down my notes. This happened literally 4 minutes before we were on stage. I'd have to go back, pull up my TPUSA notes. I distinctly remember the C word, and I distinctly remember the lock her up chant. And there was somebody that made some comment about her ethnicity, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. I wrote it in my notes, but yeah, like these people hate her, man. Yeah. They hate her. It's not, they're not coming back around to her, but I just don't think she's accepted that.
All right, well, let me jump in here because again, here's the breaking news. Nikki Haley, who was the Republican presidential contender, obviously, I mean, she never really came close to the former president Donald Trump. She is now saying that she is going to vote for Donald Trump. Didn't she say, Tim Miller's with us from the Bulwark, didn't she say that she was not going to vote for him, I think, at one point?
No, I mean, she was keeping her options.
Okay.
She was open to the idea that she
All right, well, let me ask you this then, because you say she's number two, but was she really number two? Because especially when you consider the reaction from the Republican crowd and the MAGA folks, was she really number two? Was that sort of... I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, again, she was not number two in the MAGA. Here's the thing: number two would mean that if Donald Trump dropped out, went to jail, died, whatever, then then Nikki would have been it. That's not it. No, she was the number one choice for the anti-Trump rump of the party. That's what she was.
Right.
She was not the number 2 choice of the party. She was the number 1 choice of the people that don't like Trump within the party, which are a huge minority within the party. Like had Trump gone away, it would have been a Vivek or a DeSantis or a Tucker or somebody else that fit the MAGA mold. Whoever was capturing, the audience. So I know it was not, but I think that she misunderstands us. I know a lot of these people, unfortunately, John, and like they're in a bubble. Like there is a bubble of, because think about it this way: 20% of the Republican Party is still like 20 million people, and all these people are clustered in the same, pockets of prosperity. They're in New York, they're in DC, they're in LA, they're in Atlanta, they're in Dallas and Houston, and they all have money and they don't like Donald Trump and they know better, and they all talk to each other, and they all talk to their friends, and they're like, man, once we get rid of him, it's going to be better. We're going to come back. They're not in touch with like what's really happening among the Republican voters. They don't go hang out at Trump rallies. And if they hung out at Trump rallies, they would understand that this thing's never coming back to them.
Well, they don't have to. They can just listen to some of the conservative podcasts, and you'll see the vitriol that they have for Nikki Haley. Now, they love Vivek. Even Ron DeSantis is still okay with them.
Yeah.
But not Nikki Haley. I don't understand. I don't understand the thinking, like why she would think that. But you said you don't believe that she has a future in the Republican Party. Do you believe that?
Of course not. I mean, what does that mean, right? Could she, I kind of doubt Donald Trump would trust her enough to appoint her to anything, but hypothetically, could he? Sure. Could she go back to South Carolina? It's hard to imagine her winning a primary for a federal office. Could she try to be governor again? I don't know. You know what I mean? Could she? Who knows? And she's young. In 25 years, could things be different? Sure. I don't know. You know what I mean?
25 years. Yeah, but what about VP? Everyone's saying, well, maybe she's doing this because
going to be the VP.
You don't think he's
crazy?
You don't think he'd ever pick her?
Look, the whole Trump's whole VP rubric is who will not Mike Pence me. He wants someone that's gonna, have the courage to do the next coup. That's who he wants. He's not picking Nikki Haley. Are you kidding me? Come on.
He don't love Nikki. No love for Nikki.
Are you kidding, Donald? Look, there would be Trump. There's almost nothing Trump could do to turn off his base from him. Picking Nikki is like one of the very few things he could do. They would turn on him.
And the thing is too, when you ask that, when I'm asking that question, I think I know the answer, because even if she's saying she's gonna vote for him, and even if he picked her, I don't think the people who are going to vote for her would actually vote for him if he was at the top of the ticket.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and exactly. Could she help him with certain people? Probably. I don't know. Yeah. But I think that's a big question now, Don, for like, what's she going to do? If she goes out there and campaigns for him and really, really tries to run cover for him, could she help on the margins of some of these college-educated suburban people that don't like him? Maybe she could. I think she could have done a lot of help to Joe Biden, but I think the reality is that most of the people that voted for Nikki, I think it's important to understand, not every single one, but if let's say she got 20% in a state, like 16 or 17% of those people were just voting for her because she was their way to register. She was the way for them to register their distaste for Donald Trump, right? Yeah. There's a very small contingent of like Nikki super fans that are like going to do what she wants. Like it was mostly that she was the vessel for this group of people within the party that don't like Trump.
Here's what, Tim, this is our show our live show where we take viewer feedback, comments, and where we interact with our subs, as we call it, our subscribers.
Hi, viewers.
And the Lemon Nation, the Lemon Heads. And here's what they say. Rox1SMF says he won't pick Uncle Tim either.
Talking about me?
No, he's talking about Tim Scott.
I don't like it. Can I just say, I don't like that joke. I love all your subs. No pun intended. I have people that do this to me. We don't need to do that. You
hate that term. I didn't say the actual term.
Tim Scott sucks, but we don't need to do that.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, look, they're not using the full thing. And I agree. I don't like that term. I just was talking to, I had Coleman Hughes on today, and we talked about that term. He doesn't like it either. PK Harris says, Vivek is brown nosing orange bootlicker. Wow. The news of Nikki supporting Trump is very disappointing, says Hamilton. Here we say she's done, Don. So is Chris Christie. And that's from You Don't Like My Music. So then who is it going to be? Who is it going to be? If you don't think it's going to be Tim Scott, if you don't think it's going to be Nikki Haley, who do you think it's going to
I'm
be?
not sure it's not going to be Tim Scott. I wouldn't say he wouldn't be the most likely for me. Again, I think that this is all a little bit challenging because we're psychoanalyzing a lunatic in Donald Trump, and so just this is all based on my observations. I'm not invited to Mar-a-Lago, as you know.
Yeah.
But I look. I think that he's going to want somebody. His prime goal is going to be who is going to be loyal, who's going to do whatever I want, and this is why they're all doing the suck up show. This is why they're all going on TV and embarrassing themselves, Burgum and Rubio, and they're all dancing around whether the last election was stolen, and they're all going up there to New York wearing their red ties and attacking the judge. Just why they're all doing that, because they know that he wants somebody that's going to demonstrate they will be loyal no matter what. And so I think that Tim Scott did not alienate his base in the same way Nikki did, because he never got close in the primary and he never really started attacking Trump the way Nikki did. Yeah. So I think that Tim Scott is conceivably on the list. You can imagine Trump kind of thinking that putting a black person on might help him with black voters. Yeah, even though I don't know that Tim Scott's going to have a ton of appeal there, but you can imagine Trump thinking that. I think the leaders for me are people that are going to be loyal. J.D. Vance, Elise Stefanik, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I think that is probably where his head's at.
Yeah. Okay. Since we're going to go out of order, this is what we're going to talk about today. But I want to touch on something Tim talked about. Believe it or not, Tim and I are going to talk about Diddy because there's a relation here to QAnon and also how it possibly relates to the Biden campaign. Okay. Trump's latest Nazi ad we're going to discuss. New York hush money trial nearing its end is where I'm going to go next. And then there's Rick Grinnell, his disastrous meeting with Arab American leaders. And we're going to wrap it up with one of Tim's favorite viral sensations. And you know who that is, Valentina Gomez. So since you're there, you got us there. Let's talk about the Trump trial. Yesterday, the defense rested its case after Donald Trump declined to take the stand in his own criminal trial, forfeiting his only opportunity to defend himself, but also avoiding what could have been really a calamitous error. He's also saying he didn't do it because he's gagged. That does not make sense. The gag order has nothing to do with him taking the stand.
Oh, the bad kind of gagged.
Yeah, the bad kind of gag. But but since you talked about the folks who are up here in New York and they're, with the red ties and the black jackets or the blue jackets. What do you make of Trump's acolytes all making these cameo appearances outside the courthouse? Notably, all of them always wearing the same little uniform, the jackets, the ties, the white shirts. I mean, it's kind of eerie. I know in the past, Tim, Democrats have worn white. I think it's for suffrage, right? And at the State of the Union, they've all donned their Ukraine pins. This is different.
It's creepy. Yeah, the little emotional support surrogates for Trump. It's creepy. It's weird. Like why are they doing this? I don't know. There are a lot of other ties out there in the world. It's very strange, and it makes me uncomfortable. But they're doing it. I think there was a.
Why does it make you uncomfortable?
Reason. What?
Why does it make you uncomfortable?
Because it's culty. I don't know. It does. You don't feel uncomfortable when you're around people that are in a weird cult. I don't know. It makes me just unnerved.
I have that secondhand embarrassment.
What was that show? Secondhand embarrassment.
You know what I mean?
It's The Leftovers. Maybe watch The Leftovers.
Ooh,
I never liked The Leftovers. It creeped me out too much. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's me. It feels like a horror movie. A little bit secondhand embarrassment. But look, they're doing it. One, because he wants them to. Why does he want them to? Because they can attack the judge and do things that he can't do because of the gag order. That's part of it. They know that it's going to help them get attention, get small dollar donations. This is the name of the game. And so look, this is like the state of the party now. This is what's
and they have designs. I think some of them on becoming his
for sure
vice president. Right?
Yeah, that's why Vivek's there. That's why JD Vance is there. Yeah. Absolutely.
So overall, your thoughts on the trial, Tim? I mean, what do you make of the prosecution case? Do you think that it will even matter politically, regardless of the outcome?
This is the one topic I have the worst pundit opinion on, which is like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I think that everything I've heard from people that are smarter than me is that the case has been very strong. But from the start, it's always been a strong case. And it's like, what is one juror gonna refuse to do it? It's hard. That's hard to predict. What could the impact be? I just don't know that we know. There are data, there's numbers. We do focus groups. Our friend Sarah Longwell was with me last time. Does these focus groups, and you ask them the hypothetical question. Well, if he's convicted, what is that going to change your mind? And the answers I get from people don't really know themselves. I hear the answers that I hear from people when I listen to them. I'm like, I don't know. Some of them say, well, I don't believe that he will, or some of them say, well, I guess if he was a felon, then I'd have to reconsider. But I'm like, are you going to reconsider? I don't think it helps him. I think there's some people out there that are like, oh, it helps him. I don't think it helps you to be a convicted criminal. But I think the jury is out. That time the pun was not intended on whether or not it really damages him with the kind of gettable voter.
Listen, I do want to hone in on one thing that we learned during the trial that you, JVL, Sarah Longwell discussed a couple of weeks back. The fact that Trump was personally cooking up National Enquirer stories with Michael Cohen and David Pecker. Yeah. I know that you and JVL were particularly disturbed by it. Can you explain to our audience? I'm not surprised. It is disturbing, but are you really surprised?
Yeah, I guess I wasn't really surprised. Is the wrong word. I just think that this. For those of us who lived through 2016, and I was a Jeb at the time, that we all knew that something was amiss here, right? It's like, this is weird. Why does the National Enquirer care so much about the Republican primary? And they're just going after Trump's opponents so viciously. But he did it in such these personal ways. I mean, I know that there's probably not much sympathy for Ted Cruz out there, but these stories about Ted Cruz having an affair with 4 women, and it was kind of very obvious, like staffers, and they gave the profile of the staffers in a way that was very obvious who they were to people who knew. Like, that's sick. Like, that is disgusting. Like, there were people out there who had to deal with incoming about how they had an affair with Ted Cruz. And it's like the Trump campaign, what we found out during this trial was not just kind of encouraging that. They were not just on the sidelines, bystanders cheering it on. They were workshopping the fake stories with the National Enquirer. They were editing the copy. I mean, that is insane. Like, there's political gamesmanship. There's attacking your opponents. There's sometimes you color outside the lines a little bit. Sometimes you exaggerate. Like, this was way, way, way over the line, man. And I just think that the stuff in this trial, that's the part that's most disturbing to me.
It's but like, how different is that though than what Fox News does, and he's on the phone with Hannity and texting, what's her name? What is her name? Laura Ingraham. Yeah. And I mean, is that
I mean, it's not that different.
By degrees, right?
No, but again, the Fox News reporters, like the people that are like writing the stories for the website, like the idea that they're that they're making up stories that they know are untrue, sending them to the Trump campaign, having the Trump campaign edit them. Yeah, like, it's a meaningful difference. Like sure, there's a lot of bullshit on the Fox prime time too, no doubt. I mean, it's not so, I mean, there's a lot of things to be upset about, but I just, to me, as a practitioner of this, somebody that used to be in the Oppo research game and the communications game, I just think that Trump wants us to kind of get to this point where everything is morally equivalent. And they're like, oh, everybody does it. Everybody's bad. Everybody's corrupt. Everybody's evil. It's like, no, Donald Trump is a category difference. What they were doing is not like what other campaigns do. It was cheap. And his behavior with Stormy Daniels also is the other thing that I've been talking about during this trial that I think gets overshadowed, because you talk about everything else, but pressuring her, acting like he was going to give her a job, having a security guard outside the room. It's really gross stuff. And I don't know, how do you get that stuff to break through to the lower information voters?
Well, I think that
aren't following this.
Don't closely. They think that's kind of baked in? I mean, he is sleazy. We know that. We've known about the Stormy Daniels thing, and what they will say to you is that, oh, I'm not electing a pastor, I'm not whatever. But then you hear that from the Christian right and from evangelicals, and you're like, wait, what? Do you have the nerve to criticize gay people, members of the LGBTQ, and so on, but yet you overlook a man who's having an affair with an adult film star and another woman, paying off both of them to be quiet while his wife is at home with a newborn. I mean,
yeah. I guess, but is that baked in with people that are not Christian? Like, we're not talking about people that are watching this show. I'm not talking about people that are watching Fox or that listen to Steve Bannon's podcast. I'm talking to people that like watch football or watch Bravo and don't really like politics and aren't that happy that their grocery bills are up and they're annoyed at Joe Biden right now because they feel like he's old, and they aren't happy that their grocery bills are up, but they don't really follow the news that much. Like, those are the people that Joe Biden is struggling with the most. And I don't know if it's really seeped into me, just like the degree of the way that Donald Trump abused women. I think potentially there's more education that could be done there.
Yeah. I want to, this is another thing. You've seen the Nazi ad, right? For Trump.
Well, I'm sorry, Don, I've got to correct you. They might have been referring to the First Reich.
Oh,
okay. They
might.
might. We don't. It's not clear. The Unified Reich. There were three. There was the first one during the Holy Roman Empire. Then there was the Second German Reich, and then there's the Third Reich. So we don't know. I mean, generally, you don't talk about Reichs when you have a vulnerability about your previous support for Nazis.
Yeah.
But just to be fair, we want to be fair, and
that's sarcasm, right?
Could have been. Well, I want to be fair. It could be the First Reich. You could be talking about the Holy Roman Empire
or the Second Reich. Okay,
yeah, so I don't know a lot about the Second Reich.
But late Monday, someone in Donald Trump's orbit took to the former president's, social media account, posted a 30-second video that described a vision of America if he wins in 2024. It includes fake newspaper headlines that read "Trump wins" and economy booms! Trump wins! Economy booms! Trump! At first glance, the video seemed like just a boilerplate campaign content, except at the background included text about the creation of a unified Reich and German industrial strength. Okay, the term Reich means empire, but it is very associated with Nazi Germany. I want to take a look at this. Guys, I want everybody to look at this, and I want to get Tim's reaction. I'm going to get your reaction, and I'll read it. Here it is. Oh boy. Not the first time that naked Nazi imagery has been smuggled into the GOP campaign media. I'm sure you remember the Ron DeSantis staffer who was fired, Nate Hochman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Last year because he inserted a Sonnenrad, right? A Sonnenrad in a video that went viral online. So why does this keep happening? I mean, are they actual Nazis? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, well, a couple things are happening. First, I think that there's a lack of appreciation for their if you right now are 24 or 25 and you've joined Donald Trump's campaign or Ron DeSantis' campaign, when the Mitt Romney campaign was happening in 2012, you were like 12. You were a child, right? Like, people that are young staffers that do this stuff have been born of the Trump era. And are they actual Nazis? Like, do they want to see Jews in camps? I don't know. Are they white identity radicals that support that have been drawn to Donald Trump because they like trolling, they like cruelty, they want to defend men's rights and white people's rights? Yeah, I think that there are a lot of younger staffers that are joining these campaigns that are aligned with that. And the other thing I just say about this ad, regardless of the Reich thing, which whether it was on accident or purpose, and he's done so many of these things on purpose, it's kind of like it doesn't matter. The other thing that was in the bold, right? 15 million deported, the largest deportation in history. Like, what do we think that looks like? If that really happens, like, that's not clean. That involves moving all of these people. That involves camps. They've already talked about camps. So I think that puts a much darker, like, rather than being like, oh, Reich, and like, when it's in the context of what their stated plans are for migrants, for immigrants, it makes things a lot darker for me.
Damon, it says white Christian Christo-fascists, he calls them. Someone, I guess they were talking about, what's his name, the hillbilly elegy.
JD Vance,
yeah, JD Vance. They were like, screw JD Vance. They don't like that guy. They're thinking that he may be one of the vice presidential contenders. Also, did you happen to watch Rachel the other night when she talked about Fani Willis?
Uh-oh, you're getting me in trouble with Rachel right now.
No, 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 no.
I did not watch Rachel.
Okay, I didn't see it either, but there are folks who are, and I know that Fani Willis was on. I didn't watch it. Not to say about Rachel. We both love Rachel.
Yeah.
But folks in the chat are wanting us to talk about Fani Willis. They're saying congratulations, Fani Willis. They're excited and they're happy for her. They don't think that it was a critical mistake of having a relationship with a staffer, but people are hot on this story about Fani Willis. What do you make of that? Because she won, right?
Yeah, she won. She's reelected. Good for her, I guess. I don't have personal feelings about this whole thing, man. Here's the thing, Don. Trump creates. I saw you had interviewed Comey too.
Yes.
I interviewed him. Some people don't like that; they get upset about it. I get it. Comey, I think, made a mistake at the end of 2016. I do, but here's the thing: Trump, because he doesn't play by the rules, right? He puts pressure on all the rest of us to have to do things to be very tight. You know, you can't, if you give this guy a little inch, he is going to use it to muddy the waters and to tear you down and to consolidate power for himself. Mm-hmm. And so to me, like, that's the thing that bugged me about the Fani thing. I don't care that much about office romances and all this, whatever. People should make out with whoever they want to make out with. But, like, you know, if you got a case like this where really the fate of our democracy is in the balance, you know, like, you gotta cross your T's and dot your I's, and, like, you know, it didn't seem like she was fully honest about that relationship, and it created some problems. It created a delay, and this case that by all accounts she's handled very well, with that exception, you know, is now kicked after the election, and I think that we're all suffering from the fact that this Bragg case is the only one that's going to come forth, and some of that was because of MAGA people and Supreme Court and Eileen Cannon, but you know. So anyway, the Fani Willis thing, it's a little frustrating, I have to say. I get it. I'm sure she's doing a lot of things well, but it's a little frustrating.
I agree. I think that, you know, I had Angela Rye on, and Angela says I bet Fani Willis, if she had to make that decision over again, she would make a different decision. There was someone in the chat who said if she was a man, this wouldn't be an issue. I would say if she was a man, it would be an even bigger issue. Oh, Kristen Thompson says if Fani was a man, it never would have been an issue. I think a man in a relationship with a woman and the power difference and dynamics, I think that he would have been in a whole lot more trouble, and people would not, that's just me, people would not be standing up for him the way they're standing up for Fani Willis. I get it. But I agree. This is a big case, and the fate of our democracy was in her hands. You know, so we'll see what the outcome is. Since we've been talking about, you know, conspiracy theories and the Reichs or whatever that is, this is a story. I know it's not in your wheelhouse, but yesterday I had Charles Laboutie-Diary from TMZ on. I can never say his name. You know, that French Creole stuff, to break down all this latest stuff when it comes to Sean Diddy Combs, right? The fallout there. Celebrity scandals, not your thing. But I'm curious about this because over the last several years, we have seen this QAnon, you know, stuff explode. Depending on a poll that you look at, something like a fourth to a third of Republicans believe that at least some of the central tenets of QAnon, they literally think that, quote unquote, elites in this country are sex trafficking children. You remember the whole Pizzagate thing, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, they're a little nutty. But when you see stories like this, like Diddy, of course, Jeffrey Epstein, and you see these folks being protected, right? And they're part of the people who are hanging out in Hollywood, how their crimes are so blatant, and then they kept hobnobbing with these politicians in Hollywood. Am I crazy that I'm not shocked that QAnon conspiracies like this that they have spread like wildfire, and that this Diddy story is helping it, is fueling it?
Boy, I mean, I think we have a lot of things underlying what leads to Q. So I don't know if Diddy is fully responsible. I was more prepared for a take on Kendrick versus Drake, because I was on the Kendrick side of that. But the Diddy thing, look, man, here's my problem. Is like, justice is hard. Like, getting this stuff right is hard. People that are in the FBI or in DOJ, they have tough jobs, man. They've got to prove to grand juries that they've got the goods. You know, they've got to do the work without, you know, it's not like these dirty comps on TV shows. You know, they have a lot of bylaws and rules they got to follow to gather evidence. And it's like, all these conspiracy theories are based on nonsense, right? It's just like the people that are trying to hold people accountable they're doing real work, man. Like it's tough. And so it's like, well, okay, well, they didn't get everybody. I guess not, man. Like there are going to be a lot of criminals out there. They didn't get everybody. But I think that I don't like the way that the FBI and the federal law enforcement officials just get smeared by the right now and by the left for like doing really tough jobs, like trying to protect us from bad people, so that are doing really bad things. So Diddy's part of it, but I think that there's a big effort by people to undermine the credibility of our institutions, and they want to tear them down to gain power for themselves. And I think that's part of it. And I also think that people always were attracted to conspiracy theories about shadowy groups of elites, man. I mean, it's like before the internet, when you go to the front of the grocery store, you got the real world, what was it called, the World Daily,
News of the World, or
News of the World,
whatever. And then you had the
it was always
Inquirer,
it
and the
was always the same
Star.
shit.
Yeah,
that's why that's at the front.
But
it's not the Atlantic. It's not the Atlantic that's at the at the grocery store.
I'm just curious though, when you were talking about, in the vein of conspiracy theories and News of the World or whatever it was. I mean, given Trump's base, their obsession with QAnon, I always wonder why they're not disturbed that he spent so much time with Jeffrey Epstein. And, and people should Google this, because he actually spent a lot of time with Diddy too. Diddy once called him a close friend.
Yeah.
But they're not concerned about that.
This is funny. Matt Iglesias is always on this too, which I like, which is like, why did the Jeffrey Epstein conspiracy end up being coded as a right conspiracy, that he was involved with, just when Donald Trump was friends with him, when Donald Trump defended Ghislaine Maxwell from the podium during his presidency, and when Donald Trump hung out with all these people, when Donald Trump has been caught at his Miss Universe pageant looking at young women, and like how he said he basically liked to walk around the locker room while they're all getting dressed, or whatever it's called, the dressing room.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a disgusting pig who has ties with all of these people, and I think it just goes to show that this is not rational. QAnon is not about a rational response to real world problems. It is about trying to find a rubric that lets people feel good about supporting Donald Trump and opposing like liberals that they don't like.
Do you think, look, this is a big story, and rarely do stories like this cross over the way this one has, and it gets into the zeitgeist where everyone is talking about it. Every demographic of my friend and associate and work group, they are talking about this story. I'm wondering though, because domestic violence is a real issue. Biden is, the president is suffering in a lot of demographics. Do you think it would help? It would be helpful to him and to his constituency to talk about this issue of domestic abuse and domestic violence.
You want Biden to trash Diddy?
No, but I think that he should, given that this video has been everywhere, and I watched pastors this weekend saying, I got to discuss what everybody's watching online, what everybody's been seeing on the news. If you have someone in your home or in your family or that that has been, the images are awful. And if you know someone, then you should get involved. I don't see anything wrong with the administration, especially a woman as the vice president, that why wouldn't this be something that they would take up to bring light to?
I agree with that. I don't, just in candor, I'm pretty familiar with the Biden agenda and his record. I'm not sure if they've done anything on this issue, if there's anything tangible they have to talk about. Maybe they have that I'm just not familiar with. But I just, as a general principle, just putting on my political strategist hat for a second.
Yes, sir.
Like if the people that Biden is struggling with are the voters that are watching the least political news, right? Like at every demo, Biden is doing the best with the super engaged people, and he's doing worse than he should be with the least engaged. And so you got to figure out a way to get to the least engaged.
This is a story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if this is one way to get to him, I'm all for that. I think that they need to be thinking more creatively. You've seen them do a little bit more, do these kind of interviews, with people that are off of, the typical, kind of news circuit. And so I do think they should do more of that for sure.
Okay. I want to talk about one of your obsessions. Thank you for that, because I appreciate you talking about that, because I know it's not your wheelhouse, but you did a very good job, Tim.
Dude, I'm good.
I know.
I got it.
Get you to.
I can roll. I'm like, boy,
TMZ or Entertainment Tonight or something. Man, that was good. Jack of all
I don't
trades.
think that's my future. I don't think entertainment news is really my future, but I do, I'm doing my best.
Yeah, but you know, honestly, you know that Donald Trump would be all over this if he thought
Oh
it
my
helped
God.
him.
Oh,
You
of
know?
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he might maybe, but maybe he doesn't want people to know his connection to Diddy. We'll see. Tim, I want to end this show on a lighter note.
All right.
Okay, I want to talk about our mutual obsession,
Mm.
and that is the Missouri Secretary of State candidate, Miss Valentina Gomez.
Mm.
I have a producer. His name is Peter. He noticed that you added a reference to her in your Twitter bio, and he insisted that we have to discuss this with you. But before we do, I want to play for my audience. This is a short video of hers that went viral last week. Here it is.
In America, you can be anything you want. Still be with me gay. Stick up the cards.
Tim, we left out the best part. I don't know if I didn't, maybe I didn't hear it. But she said, "Don't be gay."
No, it was in there. It
It was
just
in there.
snuck
I didn't
past
hear
you.
it.
Yeah, in America, that's how that goes. In America, you can be anything you want. Don't be weak and gay. Be fucking hard or something. Be fucking something. I think it was hard. Yeah, I don't. It's pretty weird. We're in a weird world. That person's running for Secretary of State, and the whole thing is just a crazy. I showed this video to somebody in 2015. You're like, this is our future. Donald Trump made this future happen. She's wearing this vest like she's in the military. She's not in the military. She's not a veteran. She's like wearing a law enforcement vest. Like, why is she wearing that vest while she's running? What does that even mean? Don't be weak and gay. I am weak and gay. I've turned out okay. My life is good. I can't bench press a whole lot. But I don't think there's anything wrong in this country to be. I agree with her first sentence. People can be anything they want. That includes weak and gay, and I want to be weak and gay.
Well, I'm strong and gay, so
good for you.
I'm strong like bull.
Yeah. What kind of bench? What's your max bench?
Bro, I don't want to embarrass you. So
you don't want to embarrass. Well, I wouldn't even know what's good. So
I don't want to do that. But listen, on a serious note, though, because this can have serious repercussions, because this casual just homophobia that has reemerged in the Republican Party in their rhetoric. I don't know if it's reemerged. Maybe it's always been there. And now we're just hearing they feel free to say it. People used to use the term gay. Do you remember? Hey, dude, that's gay or whatever. It was a synonym for stupid or bad. They used to use it all the time. But I thought that had disappeared until very recently.
No, man, we've backslid, and what happened is my assessment is some of this was happening underground, under the surface. These feelings didn't go away, but politicians and leaders and pundits and commentators were like, I'm not going to do this because the backlash isn't worth it, right? Like the country's moving on, and so I'm just going to keep my trap shut on this because it's not effective politically. And what we saw is, starting with the trans issue, that people on the cultural right just saw that actually there was still some political juice here, as long as they did it in certain ways, right? And I think that if it's in this construct of being concerned about children in schools, if it's in this construct of supporting men and masculinity and being tough, if it's in the construct of going after people who identify as a different gender than the one they were born, then there is some political salience there, and I think people have felt free to start targeting these groups again. And I think that that there is real life backlash. I'm not really worried. I don't think like gay marriage is going to get overturned. My little family's fine here in New Orleans, but I think that in certain communities, I'd be pretty concerned if I was a gay kid right now in certain red communities in America, because I do think the backlash is very real.
Yeah, I don't know about gay marriage. I worry about that, especially when you look at Project 2025. If they're able to do at least some of that stuff, I'm sure gay marriage is on their agenda. Or just marriage, same-sex marriage. Yeah. Marriage is marriage to me, but I don't know why we distinguish between the two. Who's more likely to be Trump's VP? Is it Valentina Gomez or is it Kristi Noem? Is it the don't be gay and weak,
probably
or
on the rise? Valentina's probably on the rise. I think the dog death was the final nail in Kristi's coffin.
Yeah. People are wanting us to have a gym off, a sort of bro off in the comments. So I'm going to come to New
I
Orleans.
don't do it. I mean, I can bro down. I can talk to you about sports. We can talk about the NBA playoffs. I can bro down with you if you want. All right. But I'm not, there's no gym off. Okay. You're triggering me. You're making me think about high school in the gym. And like, I couldn't do it. I was weak. I'm weak then. I'm weak now. And that's fine. I'm comfortable with that. I'm happy for you though, Don, you should keep whatever, show off a little bit. If you want to do some whatever lap, I don't even know the language. I can't even talk gym talk. Like what do you do in the gym? I don't even
bench.
know.
What's your bench? What do you bench?
Squat. Do you want to do a squat for us?
No, but my biggest nightmare was in my freshman year of high school, it was mandatory. Part of phys ed was wrestling. Oh yeah. And I did it and I was pretty good at it. And then I had to all of a sudden go to a tournament and I was so embarrassed. I actually just lost because I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. The singlet.
Yeah.
Singlet,
oh my god! Oh my god!
Yeah, it doesn't leave a lot to the imagination.
No. And if you're a gay boy, you're a little bit concerned about things.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. Luckily, I did not have to go through that. That's traumatic. That is traumatic, Don.
I think we've had enough GAY talk, so I'll leave Rick Grinnell out for today.
All right.
Is
next
that cool?
time? Yeah, next time.
It's good to talk to you. Thank you, Mr. Tim Miller of the Bulwark. I'll see you next time. Thanks for everybody for joining us. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe to us and the Bulwark. Check Tim out and Sarah Longwell and everybody over there. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate you.